Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. My name is Brett Endies. I am a professional dog trainer. This podcast is for you if you are a dog or puppy owner seeking training and behavior advice, if you're a client in the real world looking to supplement the information and have a resource for what we are working on, and if you're just anyone interested in dog training, dog behavior, the life of a professional dog trainer, this podcast is for you. This is episode 109. I always ask, please rate, review, share, subscribe, tell a friend, share with me, ask a question, dogtrainingla@gmail.com. All of these things help other people find the podcast. This information works for real world dog owners, so it will work for other people. And it really is the incentive why I do it. I have not monetized this podcast at this point. But I do like hearing the feedback that people give me that this podcast has helped you if you are an unrelated person or an actual client that finds that this information is helpful. Thank you. So what are we going to talk about today? I'll talk about what I'm doing right now. I'm actually in St. George, Utah. I live most of the time now in Las Vegas, which it's only about an hour and a half, 45 minutes from there. It's nice, same kind of climate, like a deserty mountain type climate, palm trees, all that, believe it or not, in Utah. Here, I like it here, and also because my chiropractor, Dr. Corey, he's one of the few people that actually gets me back on track, feeling right and adjusting and all that. I have major hip arthritis, shoulder issues. I could go down the laundry list, who cares? But it is, when I go to see him, I get great relief. And he's just an overall good dude, so I like seeing him. So that's Dr. Corey in St. George, Utah. So I'm headed back home. I got about an hour and a half in front of me. Figured I'd record a podcast. I always do these in the car, my time in between, either clients, travels, and whatnot. And that's where I happen to be, because a lot of people say, well, I see you on social media and I listen to your podcast and you're in so many places at once. That's where I am. I'm just headed back to Las Vegas, going to be there for the rest of this week, and then off to Los Angeles for this weekend. I have my group class this Saturday. I'm excited for that, and I see some clients in person. So that's what I'm doing. Still training dogs, always will, till the day I'm dead. How I do it, though, evolving into different ways. As I mentioned in the last podcast, I am phasing out of doing more of my in-person training in California. I will still be going there for group classes and seeing some clients here and there. What I'm doing right now is mostly online training, which has worked out great, as I did last year when everything was shut down, because I still have to train the owner, and I'm pretty good at this point of seeing what's going on, giving the proper training recommendations, coaching the owner while they're handling their dogs, and I demonstrate with my dogs on camera or client's dog who happens to be with me at the time. Works great, and it allows me to just see more clients in a day, where, especially in a place like Los Angeles, I could have up to an hour of traffic to drive 5 miles to go to the next client's house, and that becomes, it's a limit of my ability to see as many people as need me. All that, it's just exhausting, so I can't do that every single day of the week. It just limits me, and it just, again, there's a lot of the reasons that I ranted about in my last podcast why I'm phasing more into the Nevada market here as a dog trainer. Okay, so with that little segue, I've been kind of thinking in the back of my mind while rambling to you guys what I'm going to talk about. Let's see what kind of issues. I'm just going to kind of go through the laundry list of things that people struggle with, contact me for, things that I haven't talked about 18 times over and over, like place training and potty training, where if you have a question at this point and you haven't listened to those episodes, you got to go back and do that, because that's going to, I think I've covered everything related to those two areas. Let's see, I'm thinking here on the fly. Let's talk about just walking. You know, I've talked about that many times. I just want to talk about just, you're out and about with your dog, what's expected, rules, how to resolve issues, how to improve on your dog's walking skills, using walking skills to help with an issue like leash reactivity or impulse control problems when distracted. So let's do some walkies. I've talked about it a lot, but you're going to walk your dog at least 3 times a day, most people, so pretty important, right? All right, so first of all, some dogs, just by nature, their life history, they are pretty good at walking, you know, and it really doesn't, they just walk. They don't want to pull, they check in more naturally, they see a distraction, they create it, you know, they ignore it or they observe it, not react to it. And this might not relate to you unless you want to teach your dog an actual command for walking like the heel, where they're specifically on one side, walking with focus, not anticipating, checking in, keeping a loose leash, and mind and body connected while we're moving forward, right? Not mind halfway down the street and their body's next to you trying to continually catch up. And that's, of course, where pulling and overreactions happen when dogs see things out on the walk, right? So anyway, so the heel, right? So let's start with that, because that's the foundation. That's really the way you want to start teaching your dog to walk, or a puppy once they've just gotten used to the leash and dragging it around, and just kind of in general the first few weeks, just as part of the way to navigate, moving around the home or outdoor spaces with you share. Now we want to start teaching heel, up to and including if you have an adult dog that's pulling and dragging and lunging. It's a remedial way to replace this type of association tied to the walks with a calmer, and like I said before, more focused, mind-body connected, calmer way, checking in with the owner's leadership and guidance through these commands. And it's going to take work, of course, if your dog has multiple years of habits pulling, or if it's a big, strong dog that's just manifested their opposition reflex, which is the instinct to pull when something falls low on their body or even on their neck, which is why poorly fitting collars or harnesses or any kind of device that's marketed to solve pulling but doesn't address it more in the fashion of how I'm discussing it as a root causality or a lack of teaching the proper way to walk from the start, causes these type of issues. So again, back on track. So let's talk about the heel. So what does it do? I've done some demo videos. You can look around. If anyone has any specific questions, of course, just reach out and ask me. But you're basically, and I'm going to try to do this verbally, paint a picture that I'd be demonstrating actually if you were watching me, is you want to shape this. Now, first thing, what does heel mean, right? It means follow your heel. It means walk on one designated side, slightly behind you, following you, not planning and anticipating ahead, as I keep saying. So now, a lot of people say, well, traditionally we walk on the left, so you have to teach your dog the left heel. A dog doesn't know left from right. All you have to do is be consistent. So what I tell clients is I give them the option, what's your dominant hand? Play around with left and right. Which do you feel most comfortable as a constant way to walk your dog, at least while we're going through training or teaching him as a puppy for the first few months, to associate this is the norm for how walking would go as a calm, more easygoing proposition than a wild, hang on for dear life thing that causes the issues that adult dogs have when they develop walking problems. So anyway, because a lot of people are really sticklers for that. I'm like, well, just be consistent. Your dog doesn't care. Another question related to that, people say, well, why can't I walk my dog on the side where the grass is? Because they have to go potty. And here's why, and we're going to now segue into what the commands are supposed to mean, is if your dog is so committed to heel, where they're focused, their head's up, they're not sniffing or weaving all over, they're going to wait till you designate the potty breaks on your walk. And that's going to be with a release command like okay, to show them very clearly. And if a dog is potty trained properly, if you give them a couple opportunities, they will go on command, sniff till the heart's content, and then back in business, especially if for now we're having to be a little more structured on the walk and give them only little breaks for the ability to navigate the space with their own way of processing it. Because what the training does, commands, is creates a sensory filter and makes a certain situation less intense. So what does that mean? Your dog's doing heel, you want to give your dog a potty break, your dog has reactivity, and there's a dog heading up the street towards you. That might not be the best time, if you're still working on this issue, to release your dog. You might want to continue walking, keep the focus, get them to filter and make a calmer association that can improve on the way they handle dogs showing up, whether they're in command and really strict and focused by your command or not. But, then find a space where it's more quiet, controlled, and then they can relieve themselves. So again, just little examples of things that will make the understanding of how black and white and 100% consistent any command, especially a walking command like heel, should be, so we can expect it when the chips are down. Meaning, if we're letting our dog heel, right, and then I'm going to move on to how to teach it. I didn't forget, guys. Don't worry. My ADD is, I'm going to bring this back in here. So what happens is that, right, so your dog is healing, everything's fine, and then they just want to go sniff and pee, right? Which, it happens, especially when you're building the attention in any command. But you allow it because they just had to go. Instead of waiting a second, having them sit, check in, then releasing them, again, 5-10 seconds later on your terms, not theirs. what's going to stop them from assuming that, well, if I just see a dog, what's going to be the value in this command? I'm just going to keep reacting if you don't even adhere me to the command when I just go off the sniff, which is a much lesser degree of distraction or lack of listening to what's told. So that's where we have to build those muscles, get that focus, and just be very strict about, hey, no, you're going to heel, you're going to sit, you're going to place, you're going to come every time. And while I have the leash, I'm going to correct and reward you appropriately so you can learn from our experiences. And then the new normalized way of listening when I tell you the command is just what happens, whether it be for obedience or to offset certain behaviors that you'd be using a heel for if you have a dog that pulls or is reactive and has no control with the leash, to get that back when you're out on walks. Okay, so let's go back to the heel. So you chose your side. I'm left-handed. I just prefer the left side. I have more control on that side. So I'm going to start walking. If your dog isn't really good at the leash and starts fighting or resisting, we have to get them used to it. And I don't like to give a dog their first impression of a command under a stressful situation. So you may just want to teach your dog to just walk around the house a little with the leash, get used to just walking on one side and continue, getting more control of the leash and holding it across your body so you have leverage and you keep them on that side, right? Now, let's say they're getting that and they're just walking, and you just have to just show them what the heel means. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to time our response with the reward or some form of praise to mark where that heel position is, and just downright what does that command mean when they hear it. So you're going to start walking. Sometimes it's good to go back and forth, just your movement and changing speeds. Any kind of variation you create while you're moving or in your body language can sometimes draw a dog's attention back to you. And what you're going to do is you're going to shape. So shaping something means it's like clay. When you start making like let's say a clay bowl, it's not going to look like a bowl at first, but you're going to start building out the middle, and you just start creating what you can see little by little is going to ultimately be a self-contained bowl on its own without any more shaping happening. So that's what the heel or any command will be. So we're going to shape the heel. We're going to walk, have our dog, in my case, it would be the left side. Dog starts checking in. You can use a treat to entice them to, if you want to steer them and have them follow it with their scent receptor to get in that position, and then you reward it, right? Wherever they're pretty much on your left side or the right side for you if you choose, slightly behind you, loose leash. Eye contact is really important, especially if your dog has an issue with that. Now, what we want to do, and I've talked about this many times before, is use the treats to improve upon what they start grasping as a concept. So you keep the session short, you do multiple sessions a day, and just keep seeing this thing where when you tell them heel, you start walking, they're kind of looking, they don't know what to do, they find that spot at your side, they check in, boom, right there, get that treat, timing, like a video game. You want to hit the mark, timing is key, right? We're not going to get too much into corrections, especially if we're teaching. If it's a dog that's pulling an adult dog their activity and we're already on training collar, there is going to be some corrections right off the bat where whether they learned heel or not, there's going to be some, limits to what they're getting away with. And also just using the right tool is going to stop the opposition reflex and get more attention, where you can then start teaching the dog heel, right? So for a puppy or even an adult dog that has walking deficiencies, you probably want to start doing it where there's not many distractions around the house and the yard, on calm walks where you're not going to encounter the things that, may be hard for your dog to process still until they're better at focusing. But again, if you have an adult dog with reactivity and your dog's been on a harness or a collar or a gentle leader, right away we're going to a star mark or a pinch collar, and that's going to change the game right away, whether we teach them a heel or not. We're just now going to make what we expect from them specific and condition them to calmer choices. But once a dog feels less of that opposition reflex, a lot of times checking in just makes more sense, by their instincts to want to look to us, and, getting that collar up high, it's like a steering wheel. It really makes a difference. So even if you're hearing this as a quick tip, just if you have a low collar or a harness or a slip lead that's getting tight and not released, you may want to go to a more, they don't hurt, I've talked about it enough, I'm not going to sell you on it, but they're going to be best if you have dogs that have these type of issues, simply because of just nature and how reflexes work in dogs. And also you can communicate with them in a way that makes them tune in, because now you're herding them, H-E-R-D, behind the ears, and you can start drawing their attention to you through the leash, and that would start promoting focus and commands. And then coming back to what I was saying before, you can start shaping, whatever it is, a heel while walking, a down while holding position, a recall while they're not, near you, from a distance. So all these things all overlap, right? We're just talking about walking today, but Getting your dog to tune in and using the right equipment, and then using principles of conditioning to get that tuning in to create a better norm or a standard for like a puppy. That would be just the best way of operating. And take my word for it, you do not want your puppy running all over the place on the leash and pulling you and running up to everyone new and following everything and getting stimulated and excited because it's cute. Because I've had a very busy career for almost 30 years now dealing with the result of that when the dogs get older and you've got some major reactivity, pulling, and other anxiety-based issues in these dogs. Okay, so let's say we've taught the heel. Okay, we're getting there. Okay, and again, we're using it very strict. We're using it to lead our dog on the walks, not let them decide how. Even if we're going to heel a dog up to a friendly stranger who wants to pet our dog, we're going to keep them at our side as we approach. And if they try to get ahead, we're going to get them back at our side, or turn around, or stop and sit and create a contradictory response, so they learn that the more you try to not do heel, the less that's likely to happen. And that can go up to even if your dog just keeps trying to react to the other dog, you're going to keep directing them into a heel. Now, when you get as close as you feel is appropriate, you can have them sit or lay down, so you can transition your commands from one state to the next, moving to the situation, then holding a calm state once there for a duration of time. And then you would just heel out of the situation. So you see how the commands link into themselves, and you can create this attention as you move and hold your dog's position to just teach them like a puppy. Well, every time we meet a new person, instead of them running up to everyone and biting and jumping and just losing control and then never wanting to listen whenever a new person appears, okay, I know you want to meet a person and it's good for you to get socialized and the attention and all that, but let's use it as a training opportunity. Again, we're going to heel you, and every time you pull, we're going to stop or turn the other way till you're calm again, and then bring you to this person and teach the person to wait until you're calm. As cute as you are, it doesn't mean anything in the real world. And then have you get small levels of attention when you're sitting, so that one day you can greet people without all of these extra steps in place, and you can just be happy enough, but your impulses have learned to be curbed from the start. So when you're older, you don't have a jumping issue or an impulse control, or some of these cute dogs that run up to every dog in person as a puppy because it's fun. Now as a mature dog really takes issue with it, and it is not fun, especially with dog to dog, if you restrict them on the leash, if you've only let them run up to dogs and not teach them to ignore them or just walk up to them and check in before they would get any kind of interaction. Okay, and I hope, again, I'm doing this all stream of consciousness, so I hope this all makes enough sense to apply, even, just like if you can kind of paint a picture in your mind of what I'm describing, these scenarios, the teaching of the heel, all that. And I have a lot of videos showing, step by step, pretty much. I show the Untrainables, all this stuff. I just figured I'd talk more philosophical, but I do want to try a little bit more of an instructional thing, even if it's just here on audio. So again, the heel is a great useful command. I like that I can tell my Rottweiler, you probably see videos of him heeling at my side. I don't need that. He walks fine. But it's good if I have him off leash, I know he'll stay there. If I'm running and I have a little short leash and I just want to be able to reach down and grab it at any time, but I know he'll just stay reliably, that's a heel. Or you want to bring your dog back to you, a recall or a heel. It can be interchangeable, really. But sometimes you're using the heel as, well, this is how it's going to have to go for some time to replace some bad habits that you've developed tied to the walking, so that you can focus enough on me and the command and just conditioning wise make calmer associations and filter the intensity and replace reactions with calmer, more observant, conscious choices. And we reward these things. And again, just like we reward the timing of when the dog hits the mark on a command, we also want to look, you looked at the dog because you're so focused on the command we've worked on and you're not reacting. Here's a reward for that non-reactive response, right? And then we phase out of having to be command-based all the time. That's really important, though, that you make it pretty much all commands and you are strict in the way I'm describing, because all we have, and I say this to clients every single day at some point, one client or another, I always bring this up. All we have are commands to request our dog to do something that we understand as well as they do, and to implement it consistently with enough intent and diligence to make it seem like it's more important than what their impulses or behavioral issues would dictate, independently of what we're leading them through. I hope I articulated that statement pretty well, because I'm going to pull that sucker out for the book. All right, anyway, I think I'll leave that on the table there. We're at about 20 minutes. I'm in Arizona now, headed back to Nevada. Thanks for keeping me company. Again, please don't forget, rate, review, share, subscribe. I do this just because I want to share the info. I'm getting older. And I just want to know that I'm leaving some kind of legacy here of dogs under my belt and owners who help their relationship become more fruitful, and just happier dogs, happier people. We got a world with a lot of negativity, and you know what? I got my own opinions of stuff, and I say things that are, a little salty at times, but it really is, I just truly want to help. And that's why we have this video course that we're working on and all these other things. So, if I can help you, reach out. I'm doing Zoom training. If you're in the Nevada area, I'd love to see you. And again, any questions, reach out, dogtrainingla@gmail.com. Thank you. Have a great day.